Hi guys, and welcome to the Is It Worth It for the Pz.Kpfw S35, or I'm just going to be calling it the PZ-S35 for the rest of this review. The PZ-S35 is a Tier 3 German premium medium tank. In fact, it is the first medium premium tank in the game. All the other Tier 3 premiums are either light tanks, RT or TDs. It is available from the gift shop or from the tech tree for 1,000 gold, although this is one of these tanks that quite regularly show up in half-price sales, so you will probably pick this tank up for about 500 gold 2 or 3 times a year. The S35 brings the number of premium medium tanks for the Germans up to 5. So there are 5 premium medium tanks available for the Germans if you really are serious about training up German medium crews. So let's talk quickly about the history, and the Panzer S35, as you can see from its looks, is not a German tank. It is another captured French tank. So give it its full name, it's the Pz.Kpfw S35 739F. And anything with an F behind it is captured vehicles, so captured French vehicles. So the PC S35 is actually the Samao S35, and the Samao S35 was one of the most common French battle tanks at the start of World War II. The Germans managed to capture about 400 of them and repurpose them to the Panzer S35, but they didn't see that much combat. They were used basically as infantry support vehicles, trainers for new tank crews, and were used basically to support occupied territory. So didn't see that much combat, but they did see some combat, and mainly on the German side. Something of interest is the fact that the S-35 does not exist in-game for the French, even though it was one of the most common French battle tanks at the start of World War II. However, there have been leaked screenshots of S-35s in French colours, so there's a very good chance that in the future the S-35 will be added to the French tech tree. But as I say, they're only rumours and there's been no confirmation. Now, while the Samao S-35 did not actually make it into the game on the French side, the tank was later revised and there was an upgraded version of the tank brought out, and that was the Samao 40. Now, the Samao 40 did make it into the game. In fact, in-game, it's the SAU 40, the Tier 4 French howitzer, the Tier 4 French TD. So it's basically the S-35 with a howitzer attached to the hull, and the turret welded down, and main cannon replaced with a machine gun. So the SAU 40, or the Samao 40, is in-game, and yeah, maybe, like I was saying, someday we will see the Samao S35 make an appearance. And the question we're going to be asking today is this tank worth 1,000 gold, or even 500 gold if you decide to pick it up in a sale, which, to be honest, is the way I would recommend doing it. Well, the easiest way to find out is to compare it against its peers, but unfortunately we don't have any other Tier 3 premium medium tanks in the game. Just this one. So I'm going to have to compare it against non-premium tanks. And there are a lot of non-premium tanks in the game at Tier 3 and that are medium tanks, so I'm just going to drag them all up. So we're going to be comparing it against the Panzer IV Aus A, the other Tier 3 German medium tank. We're also going to be comparing it against the D2, which is the French Tier 3 medium tank, and the S-35 is a captured French tank, so that's a good comparison. We also have the American M2 medium, the British Vickers medium Mark III, and we have the Type 97 Chiha for the Japanese. So as we look across here, we'll see that hit point wise, it is pretty good. It's got pretty good hit points compared to most of the other tanks. Very similar to the Aus A, much more hit points than the D2 or the M2 medium, but it has less hit points than the Vickers medium Mark III, and significantly more hit points than the Chiha. So hit points wise, it's a pretty good tank. Weight-wise, it comes in for me at just around 19.5 tons, which is pretty comparable to all the other medium tanks. Only the Chiha shows significant difference and is quite a bit lighter, but it's very, very similar to all the other Tier 3 mediums. When it comes to engine power, it's very average. It's got a 220 horsepower engine. A lot of these tanks are stock. In fact, the Vickers Medium Mark III is the only other Tier 3 medium tank I have in my garage, and it's fully upgraded. It's got the same engine power as a fully upgraded Medium 3. All the other medium tanks are stock, and you can see that the Aus A has more engine horsepower. The M2 Medium has more horsepower, and it's got roughly similar horsepower to the Chiha and to the D2 when these two tanks have their engines upgraded. So when it comes to the engine, it's not great. The speed limit of 37 kilometers an hour is okay. It's not the fastest. Again, a lot of the other medium tanks, even stock, are faster. It is a little bit slower than it is much faster than the D2, but the D2 is a very, very slow tank. So the engine power isn't great. The speed limit isn't great compared to some of the others, but what it does have is very, very good traverse speed. The hull traverse speed is 40 degrees per second, which is significantly faster than any of the other Tier 3 medium tanks. But combine that with a really, really good turret traverse speed of 41 degrees per second, you'll see that it is better than most of the other Tier 3 medium tanks. Only the Aus A has the turret speed beaten, but really, really quick turret traverse, or really, really quick hull traverse with a really, really good turret traverse means the tank is quite maneuverable and it can get its gun on target pretty quickly. Compared to the other medium tanks, the view range is pretty good at 330. It matches a fully upgraded Vickers Medium Mark III. But yeah, the view range is pretty good, and with binocs or coated optics, as I'm using in this particular case, the view range can be very, very good on this tank. The signal range is excellent compared to the other Tier 3 medium tanks, but I'm not going to call this a Scout because it's not. It's a medium tank, and that's one of the problems with this tank. It's the first premium medium tank, so unlike a lot of the other Tier 3 medium tanks, for example the light tanks, they get a camo rating that is much, much better, and they maintain that camo rating on the move. Also the Tier 3 TD also has a very, very good camo rating, and the camo rating on the Pz.Kpfw is not very good at all. So basically you're not going to be using this as a Scout, but you can boost its view range, and the signal range is pretty good. The armor on the Pz.S35 is very, very good on paper. We have 36mm of frontal armor, 35 on the side, and 25mm on the rear, significantly beating most of the other Tier 3 medium tanks. Only the D2 has it beaten. However, the Pz.S35 has better turret armor than the D2. The D2 is 40mm all around, and the S35 has 56mm of frontal turret armor, 46 on the sides, and 46mm on the rear. So the armor on this tank is pretty good, but only if you're comparing it against the other Tier 3 mediums. The problem with the Pz.S35 is even though on paper the armor is quite good, it is littered in weak spots. The major weak spot is on the front of the tank. You can see this square driver's hatch, which can be penned from the side or from the front. Shots through here will kill your driver. So here I am on Provence. I am the only tank on this side of the map, and I'm going to work. I spot a PZ-1C below me. Get a shot into him. I've already bounced 2 shots. So there we go. I've just bounced a 3rd shot. So I've bounced 2 shots from a Chiha, 1 from an LTP already. No one has done any damage to me. I'm poking to see if I can get shots at the PZ-1C. Get another shot into him. And he's opening fire. So there we go. So basically, I've now taken 7 shots from the PZ-1C, in addition to the 3 shots I bounced earlier on, but I've only taken 1 penetrating shot, 8 damage, and my driver has been knocked out. So if we just check, we'll take a look at the front of the tank, and you can see right through the middle of my driver's hatch, Can I get the mouse? There we go. You can see the shot right here, straight through the driver's viewport, actually. Right through the middle of it. That's the only penetrating shot I've taken, and my driver is dead already. So the armor works really, really well against Tier 3 tanks, but you do have these weak spots, and enemy tanks, if they know what they're doing, are going to be aiming right here. You also have a very large cupola on top of your turret, and trying to go hull down to use this really, really good frontal turret armor of 56mm is defeated by the fact that even though you can hide most of your tank, the enemy can still shoot your cupola, and that will take out your commander. In fact, any shots into the turret are probably going to kill your commander. Crew members die in the Pz.Kpfw very, very easily. And because it's only got 3 crew members, it's one of these tanks that you can actually kill the tank by killing all 3 crew members before the tank has lost all its hit points. The bad news for the armor doesn't stop there. Unfortunately, the Pz.Kpfw is a very, very big tank. The T15 is quite big, and look at the size difference between the S35 and the T15. Let's compare it to a truly small tank, for example the Tier 3 Locust, which is even smaller, and look how big the Pz.Kpfw is compared to the Locust. But while it's a big target, it's not that much bigger than any of the other Tier 3 mediums in the game. So you'll often hear people say it's a big target, and it is, but not compared to the other Tier 3 mediums. For example, the only other Tier 3 medium I have in my garage at the moment is the Vickers Medium Mark III, and you can see that the Mark III is significantly bigger than the S35. So in comparison to the other Tier 3 premium tanks, the Pz.Kpfw is a big tank. There's the LTP, S35, even the T127, which is quite a big Tier 3 tank, is significantly smaller than the Pz.Kpfw. So yes, it may be a big target, and you'll see a lot of people saying it's a big target, but that's only in comparison to the other Tier 3 mediums, compared to the other Tier 3 premium tanks, I should say, compared to the other Tier 3 medium tanks in the game, it is not that much bigger. But it still is a big target. And while I was showing you the comparison shots, you will have seen the very, very flat side armor. So you may have decent side armor of 35mm, but it is very, very flat. So anything shooting at this tank side on is probably going to penetrate, is probably going to do damage. But what this side armor does allow you to do is it does allow you to side scrape. So like most low tier French tanks, and I keep on calling it a French tank even though it's a German because it is a captured French tank, but like most low tier French tanks, it can side scrape, you can use this armor, but really the best way to deal with enemy tanks is to try and keep it roughly at about a 30-degree angle. That way you're always going to be exposing your weak spots on front, but you are exposing your strongest frontal hull armor and your strongest frontal turret armor, and you do get a good opportunity to side scrape some shots as well. So that last little clip was part of a game from a Pz.S35 ace tanker. I finished up with 9 kills in that particular game, and if you want to see more Pz.S35 action, you can go back and check out that game under the ace tanker playlist. But this is a more recent game. I'm platooned with CJC, and I've got top tier. I'm feeling good. It's another tier 3 game, but it's another example of the armor. Now you saw my driver taken out by someone shooting me through the driver's hatch. In this particular game, the plan is to head up the 9-0 lines, and that's what I'm doing. And you can actually see I'm getting quite a bit of speed up here. It's not a fast tank, but it's not slow. But anyway, I've advanced, and I'm starting to have second thoughts about moving up. I don't have much to shoot at here, so I'm playing this on ×2, but decent gun, especially when you're top tier. However, it is not a sniper. You can see how much these shots loop. But our other flank has collapsed, and I've got to go back. I've got to go back. Unfortunately, our other flank is collapsing too much. They've got 4 enemy tanks we're aware of, maybe 5 enemy tanks over here. And I don't know how that shot missed, but it did. BT7's moving in on CJC, and I missed that shot. Take out the BT2, save CJC, and now there's a T18 moving up towards the through the middle. Go for a blind shot, but I'm in a bad position. Our team has collapsed. We're only 3 minutes into this game. Our entire team has collapsed. It's just CJC and myself over here. And yeah, I've just been spotted by something. So the enemy team have an FCM Pack 40. 36 Pack 40. He's the tank I'm worried about. So I'm trying to stay safe. Trying to support CJC. Judge that shot wrong. Trying to support CJC from back here. And again, judge that shot wrong. These tanks are in a dip. Bounce on the side of a cruiser. Completely waft that shot, but these guys are in a dip. I can't save CJC. And the cruiser takes him out. So in the meantime, I've got a T-18 moving up on me. Now, let's slow it down because I'm not showing anything. I'm trying to stay angled against the cruiser and the T-18. And you can see how bad the penetration on this gun is. And there you go. T-18 has just put a shot through my cupola and has taken out my commander. I'm going for the weak armor on the T-18 and again missed that shot. I'm trying to stay on the move and now I'm taking fire from both sides. So my commander is dead. I switched to premium ammo. Can't get the gun depression. Really, really bad gun depression, but I've used my first aid kit to fix the commander. And I'm moving to try and prevent shots. And there you go. So basically, I take out the T-18, but the T-18 manages to get another shot right through that cupola. And that's 2 shots he put in through the cupola. I was trying to stay as hull down as I could. My commander was knocked out twice. 2 shots from the T-18 into my cupola. Commander killed twice. Crew members die in this tank very, very quickly. Having said that, I've taken 45 shots. Let's speed it back up to ×2. My team has collapsed. I'm the last one standing. So, Su-76 moving up. I'm on my regular ammo. Take him out. So basically 3 enemy tanks left. There are 2 tanks in cap. And I'm trying to maybe get around, hoping to try and spot them through the trees. Don't have the view range, so I'm moving forward. And unfortunately that means I've got to expose my side. I need to get up to cap. There are only 8 seconds left in this game. And no matter how good your armor is, exposing the side of your tank to an FCM Pack 40, I was taken out. But before I went down, I took 50 shots from enemy tanks. But yet my commander was knocked out twice just through shots through my cupola. So the armor on this tank is really, really good when you get it into a tier 3 game and can actually keep your front of the tank pointed towards the enemy, or can side scrape enemies towards your sides. But yeah, it's not an I-win tank. Definitely not an I-win tank. Considering there are only 12 premium medium tanks in the game, the Germans happen to have 5 of them. So yes, if you're a German tank fan and you want to train up your German medium crews, there are a lot of choices. However, the Pz.Kpfw should not be your first choice. The crew on the Pz.Kpfw is only 3 men strong. You've got a commander, a driver, and a radio operator. The commander also doubles up as the gunner and the loader. So he's got 3 duties yet again. And the problem with having multiple crew skills required for one crew member is that if that crew member gets knocked out, then your tank becomes basically useless. And the commander sits up here in the turret of the Pz.Kpfw. Shots into the turret will kill the commander. Shots into the cupola on top of the turret will kill the commander. So you're not only going to be losing your commander, you're also going to be losing your gunner and your loader. So losing your commander in this tank is pretty poor. As I've already mentioned, getting shot through the driver's hatch will also kill your driver and possibly your radio operator. So crew die very, very quickly in this tank, but that doesn't make it a bad crew trainer. What makes it a bad crew trainer is the fact it's only got 3 crew members. Every other premium medium tank for the Germans has the same crew configuration, which is the commander, the gunner, the driver, the radio operator, and the loader, which is perfect for training up medium crews for pretty much every German medium tank in the game. Because the S35 is not actually a German tank, it's a French tank, the crew layout is different, and of all the German premium medium tanks, it is probably the worst crew trainer. So let's talk about the gun. Well, it's a Tier 2 S35 L34. Yep, Tier 3 tank, Tier 2 gun. In fact, it's the same gun as you get on the Panzer B2, the Tier 4 German heavy tank. And that's an interesting point. The gun and the turret on the PZ S35 are identical to the PZ B2. However, that would seem like good news. The PZ S35 is a whole tier lower than the Tier 4 Panzer B2, and the Panzer B2 is a heavy tank. But it doesn't work out that way. Even though it's got the same turret and the same gun as the PZ-B2, the PZ S35, being a whole tier lower, actually gets worse matchmaking. The PZ S35 does not get special matchmaking. That means it will see Tier 3s, it will see Tier 4s, and it will see Tier 5s. And the weighting for this tank seems to be quite heavy because I see a lot of Tier 5 games. Quite often I'm the lowest tier tank in a Tier 5 game. And we'll get back to that in a moment, but we're just talking about the gun. And the gun is okay, it's pretty good. On a Tier 3, the gun is actually better than it is on the Tier 4 PZB2. It's got a really, really good rate of fire. So you can put out a lot of shots very, very quickly. You also have a lot of ammunition. So a big rate of fire, a lot of ammunition, serious DPM potential for this tank. The penetration is okay at 55 millimeters of penetration, 52 alpha damage. The premium ammo gets 90 millimeters of penetration, 52 alpha damage, and I don't fire HE, so I can't really comment. The accuracy is okay, not great, but it is okay. But one of the strongest things about this gun, besides its amazing rate of fire, is this aim time. It has the fastest aim time in the game. 1.1 aim time, almost a shot every 2 seconds. Reasonable accuracy and pretty good penetration. The gun is very, very good on this tank in some situations. And this is where we come back to this matchmaking. Unfortunately, the matchmaking kills this tank. While this gun is fantastic at Tier 3, it's not quite so good at Tier 4 but can still do a job. But it is completely and utterly useless at Tier 5. The PZB2, a whole tier higher, has the same gun, same turret, but doesn't see Tier 5s, and even then it struggles against some Tier 4 tanks. The PZ-S35 will see a lot of Tier 5 tanks, a lot of heavily armored Tier 4 tanks, and sometimes the gun just isn't good enough, and it is very frustrating. Like the tank itself, the gun on the Pz.Kpfw is fantastic when you get it into its own tier games. We are here on Himmelsdorf. It's a Tier 3 game, so I'm top tier. And I'm just going to advance straight down the middle. And you can see the acceleration's pretty good. I'm already up to 30 kilometers an hour. And I want to get into a position here where I can side scrape. And first enemy tanks are spotted, so not much to shoot at on this T-18. He's advancing straight across the middle, but unfortunately he's stopped behind cover. So I'm trying to side scrape, trying to poke, trying to get shots. And then a Pz.1c comes out of nowhere. I'm able to get my gun around very, very quickly, miss my first couple of shots, finally get a shot in, trying to shoot him through the wreck, but we've got a really, really fast rate of fire. We're able to use our traverse speed, was able to pen T-18 twice through the gun mantlet without having to resort to premium ammo. And he gets taken out before I can get a shot. But we're on 2 kills already. The game is just getting started, and I've been penned once by a Pz.1c. He missed, or he bounced 4 shots on me. I've been spotted, so I'm a little bit hesitant about going around this corner, and I notice that we're under pressure on the other flank. So we'll speed it up. So I decide basically to go over and help the other flank. But they've already taken out the Pz.4a who was over there. Just a Pz.3a. Miss my shot on the move. Aim more carefully. Take him out. And this flank is secure. Now I need to go back and help the other flank. So we're on 3 kills. And I've got shots on the Valentine AT. So I'm going for his gun shield. And you can see the gun is fairly accurate. It's rapid firing, and the penetration is pretty good against its own tier. You're going to see some clips after this where I'm using this gun against tier 4s and tier 5s, and you'll see that it doesn't perform quite as well. So basically, I'm on 4 kills, 1 enemy tank left, and I'm able to use the speed and maneuverability, which isn't great, but it's not bad, to get down around. 1 enemy tank left. I bounce my first shot, but I'm quick enough to re-aim, reload, and basically kill him on the second attempt. So 5 kills in a very, very quick game on Himmelsdorf. When you get this tank against its own tier, and when it's an all tier 3 game, the gun is fantastic, the tank and the armor are really, really good. Even against tier 4s, the gun can sometimes struggle. I'm here on Himmelsdorf. I'm moving into a very, very strong side-scraping position. And I've got an orange reticule going for the lower glacis on the DW2. And there we go. Gets a shot into my commander's cupola. And now he gets a shot through my driver's compartment. And look at that, my driver is dead again. So I've side-scraped, I've bounced, he's bounced 2 shots on me, but he's got a pretty good rate of fire. So I hang around till he's aiming at someone else. Still trying to go for his lower glacis, and just can't pen a DW2 from the front. So that was without using premium ammo. I'm looking to see where he penned me, and can't actually see the pen mark. It's disappeared. But anyway, let's continue. So I get a quick shot on the M3 Stuart as he crosses around. And against tier 3s, the gun is great. I'm penning tier 3s. So our team have moved up aggressively. We've got a PZB2 who's advanced across the middle. I'm safe from that Matilda. I'm just advancing. And I'm noticing this Hetzer is coming down to engage the PZB2. So I've already switched to premium ammo because I can't go through the front of a Hetzer. He kills the PZB2, but I managed to get him, but I had to fire premium ammo. Now I've switched back to regular ammo, but now there's a Matilda around this corner. And orange reticule. Bouncing. Can't get through his side. I'm aiming just below his spaced armor, but I can't pen him. So I switch back to the premium ammo, and you have to do this in this tank. This is one of these tanks where you have to actually fire premium ammo depending on the tanks on the enemy team. So switch back to regular ammo, and I'm just going to stop it there because I don't get any more kills, end up going up the hill, and the 3 remaining enemy tanks die before I get up there. But you could see that the normal ammo against tier 4s is not very good. You do have to fire premium in this tank, but it can still do a job against tier 4 tanks. Unfortunately, that's not the case when you come up against tier 5s. So no matter how many times you can have great games in a tier 3 game, the gun is great for tier 3s, not so bad for tier 4s, you end up in situations like this, where basically if you look at the minimap, my team in town has collapsed. There are 3 KV-1s moving in on our spawn. I've done my job. I'm bottom tier in a tier 5 game. I've already taken out a T49. I got hit twice by the T49. I'm almost dead, got 41 hit points left. I had to hit the T49 7 times to kill him, but this is the situation I find myself in again and again and again in this tank. We've got KV-1s running in, or moving in on our cap zone. I'm in a tier 3 tank with a really bad gun. I'm already switching to premium ammo. And we're bouncing. Got a side of a KV-1 bouncing on the side. Aiming between his tracks, hit him between his tracks, don't hit the tracks there, and can't pen him. So now I'm trying to track him, and unfortunately I don't move out of the way. So I eventually managed to track him, but that was all I could do against that KV-1. 3 KV-1s left on the enemy team, and there is absolutely nothing I can do to try and save this game. I've killed their most dangerous tank, the T49 on the enemy team, but now KV-1s are coming in, and the Pz.Kpfw is completely and utterly useless in that situation, and it happens again and again and again. When you're bottom tier in a tier 5 game, no matter how good this tank is, it's just not good enough when you're up against KV-1s or a lot of other tier 5, even tier 4 tanks. And that's the biggest problem with the S35. It's not the tank, it's the matchmaking. Like the gun, the armor works against tier 3s. It's okay against tier 4s and is completely useless against tier 5s. Let's talk about equipment. And surprisingly, there aren't that many equipment choices for the S35. On most of my tanks, I will go for vents because plus 5% all crew skills is pretty good. But as you can see, there aren't that many others. You've got a toolbox, which is okay. I mean, this is a big tank. It is also French, and you will tend to get tracked quite a lot if you're trying to side scrape. However, the tracks are quite low down and there's not a lot to hit. But again, if you have a spare toolbox and a spare equipment slot, a toolbox is not a bad idea on this tank. You've got an enhanced gun laying drive to improve your aiming speed, but the S35 has amazing aiming speeds, so basically you don't really need a gun laying drive. In fact, it's got one of the best aiming speeds in the entire game. Coated optics is a choice I actually did go for on this tank, simply because I had the free equipment slot. I had a free pair of coated optics in my garage, so not a lot of equipment choices, and I just decided to throw them on because they can't hurt. Binocs, again, perfectly legitimate choice for this tank. You can snipe with this gun. It's not great in some situations, but again, not a lot of equipment choices, and I thought binocs, I've got spare binocs in the garage, spare equipment slot. Binocs is a reasonable choice. Medium spall liner, it's not a great choice. I don't like medium spall liners or any spall liners on low tier tanks. I think it's a waste of credits. Even though I've got a spare one, I haven't decided to put it on. Basically, you don't have very much armor, and you will be coming up against tanks that can one-hit kill you with a lot of derp guns. So I really don't think the medium spall liner is that worth it, but it's your choice. Camo net is also another possibility. Sometimes I run this tank with camo net, sometimes I'll run it with binocs. It depends, but really not a lot of equipment choices, so not a lot of different options, but it is completely up to you. So it is time for the overview game, a game where I try and show you as many strengths and weaknesses of whatever tank I'm reviewing in one replay. We are here on Runeberg. I am platooned with Guffer. He is also in a Pz.Kpfw, and it's a tier 4 game. Now, I do have to say, this is not a great game. I had another overview game planned. Unfortunately, I decided to cut it. I had a really good game, got 8 kills, ace tanker, all the rest of it, but I decided not to use it because it was me being top tier in a Pz.S35 again, and that's not something that happens all that often in this tank. I went through nearly 27 replays gathering footage for this review. I looked through 27 Pz.S35 games, and the majority of the games were either tier 5, with me being bottom tier, or tier 4 games. Only about 1 in 4 games in the Pz.S35 were me being top tier, and the tank is great when it's top tier in a tier 3 game. In fact, most of the really good replays are me being top tier, but you can't count on being top tier in a Pz.S35, and that's the problem. So I figured, you know what, I'm not going to use that game. I'll bring that game to you another time. It's a good game, it's an ace tanker, I'll bring it to you as an ace tanker. But in this particular game, this is a typical matchup for the Pz.S35. It's a tier 4 game, which you'll probably see more often than you will tier 3 games, and slightly more often than you'll see tier 5 games. But most of the games I play in the Pz.S35 are against tier 4 or tier 5 opponents, so it's a good overview game, I think, even though it may not be the best gameplay and most exciting. So I'm heading up to Crossroads, and remember, it's a very tier 4 game. Most of the tanks on the enemy team are tier 4. And I'm going to highlight one of the problems with the Pz.S35, and that's its premium ammo. You're going to see why I carry 30 shots in this game. So a PZ-1C, that's fine. I'm angled badly, but he doesn't have a great gun. So I've bounced 5 shots. There we go. So I bounced 5 shots from the PZ-1C. I've taken 13 damage, and managed to do all 205 damage to him. So I hit him 4 times. Rapid firing gun, but now an AMX-40 has appeared, and I've had to switch to premium ammo. I'm aiming for his turret ring, and only managed to get 1 shot in. So I've fired 3 premium rounds already. I've switched back to normal AP. So you can see the difference. Against the PZ-1C, I was able to get 4 shots in, do 205 damage. Against the AMX-40, not able to pen him with regular ammo, had to switch to premium, had to fire... Actually, I don't know how many shots I fired. 3 shots at the AMX-40, only penned him once for 45 damage. So I'm edging forward, trying to do a little bit of side scraping in case there's anything down in the ruins to my right. And Guffer's here in his Pz.S35 as well. Had a hint of a shot at the T28 and the Martyr, but they're advancing into town. I don't quite realize that, so I'm tracking them to see if I can get shots through the ruins, but I'm not looking at the minimap. I don't realize they're going to town. Guffer realizes, I don't. I'm still waiting for shots, and then a Matilda is spotted moving up through the middle. And immediately, I know I can't pen the Matilda, got to switch to premium ammo. But you can see this aim time, you can see this rate of fire. I'm aiming at his spaced armor, there we go. You have to hit him below his spaced armor, and there we go. 250 damage, 5 hits into the Matilda, 250 damage. So, really fast rate of fire, really nice aim time, but you do have to fire premium ammo depending on the tanks on the enemy team. So I fired much more premium in this game than I wanted to, and it's not finished yet. I've switched back to premium because... Oh, very poor long-range shot on the Hetzer. Switched back to premium because the enemy team are capping. They've got 3 tanks in the cap, and there's only 40 seconds left of this game. I've gone back to regular AP. Pz.3A is a tank I can pen without using premium. So there we go. Get one shot in, little bit of cap reset, get another shot in, and he reverses into cover. This is a Hetzer to my right, but he's quite far back, and now there's an M8A1, but I don't have shots, don't need to use premium ammo. T82, just a hint of a shot. Oh, and now an AMX-38, so have to switch back to premium ammo. He's giving me his rear. And I've just been hit with a premium round from an S35B, so I'm angling. And there you go. So he angled, or I angled, and I managed to actually bounce his second shot. So he's fired 2 shots at me. He did 160 with his first shot. His second shot was a bounce because I angled and he hit my side armor. But Hetzer to my right, Pz.3A in front, and we're still being capped. So now I've bounced the Pz.3A. Take him out, and again, because of that aim time, because of that rate of fire, I was able to do that. But now there's a Hetzer. Oh, I finally just spotted him. He's pointing my direction, so I'm back to the premium ammo. Tier 4 tank, really difficult to pen from the front. I get 2 shots in. And because I'm on premium ammo, I'm not switching back. Pz.38NA, and there we go. Bounce on a Pz.38NA, even with a premium round. So we've reset the cap, we killed the last remaining enemy tank, and we win the game. So 824 damage, and I had to fire quite a lot of premium. And this is the situation you find yourself in a Pz S35. When you get into a tier 4 game, sometimes you don't have to fire any premium. It depends on the tanks on the enemy team. Unfortunately, I ran into a Hetzer, ran into an AMX-40, ran into an AMX-38, ran into a Matilda, and all of those tanks are tanks I can't pen. They're tier 4 tanks I can't pen with regular ammo. So you do end up having to fire quite a lot of premium in the Pz S35, and as a result, it's not a great money maker. However, the tank is fantastic when you can get it into a tier 3 game, but because that's not guaranteed, because it doesn't get special matchmaking, I figured that this was a better representative of a game that you play in a Pz S35 where you're not top tier. I do have much better games I could bring you in a Pz S35, but they're all where I'm top tier. So there you go. Gun is pretty good when you're facing tanks you can pen, but you're going to face a lot of tanks you can't pen at tier 4. You're going to face even more tanks you can't pen at tier 5, even with premium ammo. And that's one of the big problems with the Pz S35. So, to sum up, is the Pz S35 worth 1000 gold? Well, this tank accelerates pretty quickly and it is pretty maneuverable, which is fine when it's up against tier 3 tanks and a lot of tier 4s, but doesn't really mean all that much at tier 5. It's not a slow tank, but it's not particularly quick. At 37 kilometers an hour, again, it matches up favorably against tier 3s, most tier 4s, but is not that great at tier 5. The armor, likewise, is fantastic at tier 3, not so good against tier 4s, and completely useless against tier 5s. Likewise, the gun, really nice gun, rapid firing, decent penetration, incredible aim time, and works really well against tier 3s or lower. Works okay against tier 4s, but lacks against tier 5s. In fact, it is completely useless against a lot of tier 5 tanks. Because the gun is pretty poor against a lot of tier 4s and most tier 5s, you end up having to fire quite a lot of premium ammo. You can see I've got 30 premium shells loaded up in this tank, which is quite a lot. And I do end up having to fire quite a lot of these shots when I get into higher tier games. The gun depression is something I haven't mentioned, but it has pretty poor gun depression, so trying to fight on slopes is not a good idea in this tank. And even though the best armor on the tank is the front of the turret, again you've got this large weak spot on top, which makes going hull down quite difficult, especially combined with this poor gun depression. It has good view range and it has good signal range. In fact, it's got very good signal range. However, it's not a good crew trainer. Every other premium German medium tank is better at crew training. This only has 3 crew members, and in addition to only having 3 crew members, all these crew members happen to sit behind weak spots. So shots into the turret or the cupola will kill the commander, shots through here are going to kill the driver, and shots through here are going to kill the radio operator. So basically, what I'm saying is, if the Pz.Kpfw had special matchmaking, I would recommend this tank in a moment. This is really, really good against tier 3s and lower. It is pretty good against most tier 4s. But it doesn't get special matchmaking, and more often than not you're going to be bottom tier in a tier 5 game and next to completely useless. Against tier 4s and tier 5s your armor counts for nothing, your speed counts for nothing, your gun counts for nothing. You're not going to be able to pen a lot of the tier 5 tanks you come up against. You may have a lot of hit points at tier 3, but that doesn't count for anything when you're up against tier 4s and tier 5s. You just don't have the alpha damage or the penetration, and most higher tier tanks are going to be able to one-hit kill you. Unlike every other tier 3 premium tank, because this is a medium tank, you don't have the camo rating. Every other tier 3 premium tank in the game has better camo rating. And as such, and as much as I love the Pz.S35, and as much as this tank can be an absolute beast when it gets into a tier 3 game, it's just not worth it. I really don't think it's worth 1,000 gold. I do recommend this tank. I do like this tank when you get top tier, but that doesn't happen all the time. In fact, it doesn't happen very much at all. I really can't recommend picking it up for 1,000 gold, and even when on half price, when it's 500 gold, my recommendation is don't pick it up unless you own most of the other good tier 3 premium tanks. There are a lot of better choices at tier 3. If you've got 1,000 gold lying around and can actually splash out a little bit extra gold, you're better off buying a higher tier German premium medium tank in order to train your crews with. It's a nice tank, but that matchmaking just kills it. So for 1,000 gold, I could not recommend this tank. Even for 500 gold, I would not recommend this tank unless you had all the other tier 3 premiums that you wanted to buy first. It's a great tank, but the matchmaking just kills it. Thanks for watching. I'll see you next time.